The 1044 is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash. This week on the 1044, towing the line between driver coaching and being big brother. Hey everybody, and welcome to the 1044, a weekly webisode from the editors here at CCJ. I'm Jason Cannon, and my co-host on the other side is Matt Cole. There's no shortage of driver coaching technologies on the market, and each of them are designed to improve driving habits and extract improvements in both safety and miles per gallon.
The problem oftentimes is that drivers see these technologies as all stick, no carrot, management's way of helping me make them more money, and in a worst case scenario, an outright invasion of their privacy.
We spoke with TruckLab CEO Daniel Burrows to get his thoughts on how fleets can deploy a kinder, gentler method that achieves the same end result, where the fleet and driver can each make more money, but in a less obtrusive manner.
The big brother question is one where, like, people say, you know, I don't want cameras pointing at me and I don't want every moment of my day being tracked. And that's not the philosophy we're taking. What we're taking is actually more like a Strava for truck drivers, where you can see what other people are doing, and it's more social, and you actually understand. We actually don't take a strong position on what you should be doing differently or what you could be doing differently. What we do is we share what other drivers are doing, and you can see what they're doing, and it's sort of competitive. You can then you can change or modify your driving to match what our segment leaders are doing if you want to. And it's more about empowering drivers and giving them additional information when they're driving than, hey, you idled for 5 minutes too long at this depot. That's not really what we're after.
Daniel says one of the keys to getting drivers to buy in is to make sure you're comparing their performance to a cohort that is running similar specs on similar runs, which makes the measurement system more fair, normalizing the equipment, the load, and the terrain. But before we get to that, we'll hear from Chevron Lubricants, the sponsor of the 1044.
Protecting your diesel engine and its after-treatment system has traditionally been a double-edged sword. The same engine oil that is so essential to protecting your engine's internal parts is also responsible for 90% of the ash that is clogging up your DPF and upping your fuel and maintenance costs. Outdated industry thinking still sees a trade-off between engine and emission system protection, and Chevron was tired of it. So they spent a decade of R&D developing a no-compromise formulation. Chevron Lubricants developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by a whopping 60%, which reduces the rate of DPF clogging and extends DPF service life by 2.5 times. And just think what you can do with all the MPGs you're going to add from cutting your number of regens. But Delo 600 ADF isn't just about after treatment. It provides complete protection, extending drain intervals by preventing oil breakdown. Before, you had to choose between protecting your engine or your after treatment system, and now you don't. 600 ADF from Delo with OmniMax technology, it's time to kick some ash.
It's not really at a fleet level right now, it's at a driver level. It's actually for a segment of highway. So how it looks is you enter a segment, we call it. It's basically a small game. It's like 60 miles. You see a terrain profile that you're going to be driving, and you see how well you did last time you did that terrain. And you also see how well other drivers that are using similar equipment, facing similar conditions with a similar load, have the same terrain. And then it's game on. Who can do better? Who can improve their driving? Who can learn? And we've had drivers who run the same route every day, and we could see them steadily getting better as they learn what speeds to select, how to read the road, and all these other pieces that, drivers have a huge amount of control over fuel economy. And so we can see people sequentially getting better as they run the same segments because they have the data of how they did last time. And then it's like, can I do a little bit better this time?
One of the advantages of tracking MPGs this closely at the driver level is that it can reveal that drivers who are consistently below the fleet average may have a good reason for it. And they may actually be performing at a higher level than others in that same lane. It can also reveal maintenance issues. If you see a driver who's normally a fairly fuel-conscious driver starting to slide in MPGs and they're below the segment average, it might be time to check their equipment.
You do see that, and you see how well is each driver doing with the hand they were dealt. So say you've got one driver who's an excellent driver, but his MPG looks really low. Well, it turns out that he's an excellent driver, and he gets heavy loads over the Rockies all the time, and he's doing really well to hit 6.5 miles per gallon, right? And it's like, well done. You should have been getting around 5. So we have this concept of how well you're doing versus the hand you were dealt. And equipment managers can look at that at a per driver level, but they can also look at that at a per truck level. So say a given truck should be getting 9 miles per gallon on average, right? And then controlling for all the other factors, it starts going down to like 8 miles per gallon. There's something wrong with the truck, right? There's, a fender broken or a compressor that's running or an engine misfiring, or there's something wrong, because no matter who's driving it and what the load is, the baseline truck performance is not where it should be.
There's been a big trend in training gamification for years because, as Daniel puts it, it allows drivers to see and understand that goals are achievable. And from a management perspective, he says fleets can expect to see between 5 and 8% MPG improvement once their drivers fully embrace the platform. People
like to engage in goals when they're achievable, and with some focus, they can get some early wins, and we focus on that. So like, if you're saying I'm pulling 7 miles per gallon and the goal is 9 miles per gallon, you're like, stop that. There's no point. Like I'm nowhere near that. I need to disengage. It's all about getting engagement, right? That's the whole key, the whole system. It's like, how can you give people goals that they feel are attainable, that are within reach? And then people do engage, and we see great engagement rates across our drivers. Not everyone. I'm not going to say that everybody, from day one loves the system, but we see a good, 70% of drivers, trying to, improve and seeing good results out of the system. And so, that's huge. I mean, it's not just about the top performers. It's not about just being segment leader. Say you're in the bottom quartile, say you're in a fairly new driver. How should you be driving this truck to get up to median performance? And so there are these leagues, and you can level up from where your skill level is to get better. I think most people, if they're given an opportunity to improve their craft where they are, and it meets them where they are, I think we have a lot of opportunity to help them there. I realize, as you're aware, huge turnover industry. There's a lot of new drivers. And if you can just show new drivers like what an experienced driver is doing on a route, you can help him understand how to map his route to avoid traffic going around Chicago. If you can help him figure out what time he needs to leave and where he should stop, these things have a ton of fuel implications. And so, but we think, we think there's two real value props. One is, yes, it's fuel, but two is, how do I get my new drivers operating like they've got 10 years of experience super fast? And that's actually for safety, for on time, for all these other metrics. That's actually even more important for fleet managers. So think of this as you're sitting in the co-pilot seat next to your drivers. What would you be telling them all the time? What would you want them to be focused on? And that's really what the platform is about, is reflecting the fleet manager's priorities into each and every cab across the country. A lot of it is actually improving that conversation that happens on like a Friday or a Monday when a given truck did 6.5 miles per gallon. It was doing 8 miles per gallon. And they're like, what happened? What did you do? And the driver's, there's headwinds and, there's a lot of traffic. I didn't have any control. There was weather. It was, and it's like this, the conversation isn't fruitful because there's not data between how much traffic, how much weather, how much did you idle. It's about helping people understand what is actually the drivers.
That's it for this week's 1044. You can read more on ccjdigital.com. And as always, you can find the 1044 each week on CCJ's YouTube channel. And if you've got questions, comments, criticisms, or feedback, hit us up at 1044trucking@gmail.com and give us a call at 404-491-1380. Until next week, everybody stay safe.